NASCAR Coast to Coast coming at you next. On this week's show, we've got a special guest, Burt Myers, celebrating win number 100. He's in the triple digits at Bowman Gray Stadium. We're going to talk about that, plus his reaction to the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour race, what we'll call it, at North Wilkesboro Speedway. Ended up being a barn burner there at the end. Plus, we'll recap all the short track racing you can handle, including NASCAR's big weekend, All-Star Weekend at North Wilkesboro, and a lot more, including the calendar as we hit the end of the month of May. NASCAR Coast to Coast on May 22nd, coming at you next. Welcome back to NASCAR Coast to Coast on the Motor Racing Network. Joining us, Burt Myers, 100 total wins at Bowman Gray Stadium as he picked up his 99th modified win over the weekend at the stadium. Burt, pleasure of you joining us. 99, so that just means what, 100's coming up this weekend?
Well, that's the plan. It's a little bit of confusion. I actually ran one sportsman race years ago. I've run one sportsman race over there, and I won it. And so I'm batting 1,000 with the sportsman division, so I stopped there. But yes, I have 100 total, and 99 modified. So hopefully this weekend we'll get our 100th modified win.
I mean, 100 wins is still a huge accomplishment when you think of the history of the stadium and the legendary drivers like yourself that have been a part of it for so many years. But was it almost like bittersweet because you had to keep telling everybody it's still 99? I'm not to 100 modified wins, but it's still a cool occasion nonetheless, though.
Yes. So whenever we were looking at it like that, the fact that we were having to say, well, actually, and somebody said, look at it this way, you get to celebrate it twice. So
yeah.
Hopefully we'll get our 100th modified win this weekend, if not hopefully pretty soon, and we'll get to celebrate 100 a second time.
When you look at all those wins, and I know you probably could remember most of them, what sticks out on the journey to these 100 total wins? When you look at when you started and some of the battles you faced over the years and some of those close victories and memorable victories, what kind of stands out to you on this journey?
Well, your first one always stands out, and it took me 3.5 years to win my first race. And my first win was my dad finished second to me. So that one always stands out. But I think that one of the things that I guess maybe if I have to say this that I'm most proud of is the competition level at Bowman Gray, and also the format that Bowman Gray has makes it so tough to win week in and week out. So to be able to accomplish 100 wins at somewhere like Bowman Gray that is so tough to race at, I'm pretty proud of that.
Now that the season's off and rolling at the stadium, have you noticed anything different since obviously you were a part of the clash with the Cup Series coming at the beginning of the year, kind of opened a lot of people's eyes, maybe that were new fans to short track racing? Oh, they've got a weekly series at Bowman Gray. Well, I got to go check it out. Have you noticed maybe an uptick in either the eyeballs on the stadium this year or just people following it along because of what the Cup Series brought back in February?
Yeah, it may be some, but I think we all know that Bowman Gray had some pretty big eyes on it already.
Yeah.
If you know anything about racing, short track racing in this country, you've heard of Bowman Gray Stadium. I think it possibly could have drawn some more people to come and check it out for themselves in person. I think that's probably one of the things that has happened. But I think if you know about racing, you know about Bowman Gray Stadium. So. Obviously with the Clash and with the Cup guys and that kind of stuff, it has drawn some more attention. And with NASCAR's extended coverage of what goes on over there and with Flo covering it every weekend, I think that, like I said, the biggest thing that you might see a difference in is for people saying, man, I've got to get out of here. I've got to check it out. So I think maybe we've seen some more new faces see it in person this year.
Absolutely, for sure. I actually know a couple buddies that went out there for the first time a couple of weeks ago to their first race at the stadium, and now they're hooked. So they're pretty much making their Saturday night plans every weekend. Before we get to the rest of your season, do want to pick your brain. Saw you on the grid for the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour event at North Wilkesboro Speedway. I know you got a lot going on, so it was tough to focus on driving that race, but I know you were helping out SAP there this weekend. I want your initial thoughts because I know a lot of the drivers were very frustrated. They felt that was not what modified racing really looks like. But as a competitor who was just out there to help out as a fan, but also helping out with a race team, what were your initial thoughts of what we saw with most of the race being under yellow flag?
I mean, nobody likes whenever there's a race that half the race is under caution. drivers, fans, officials, series. Nobody likes that. I think there's a lot of times, we've all been a part of those races that I don't know if you can point a finger in anybody's direction. It's just one of those days where things just didn't go right. And we've also been a part of races that went, with one or two cautions in the whole race. So I think in the general, yes, I agree with the fact that that's not what I hope that people don't form an opinion about modified racing based off of that event. There should be an asterisk beside that race that says, this event, it is not what the product that we normally put out. If you want to really fine point, a part of that race, I'd say those last two restarts was some of the best racing I'd seen.
Oh, yeah.
And if you go back and look at those, that's what modified racing is. And, you can say that there's our guys that didn't have a lot of experience at a track like North Wilkesboro. You look at this race versus the other races we had, it was hot. The track was greasy. They had cup rubber down. They had car sewer rubber down. I had actually told Sap before the race, I said, I'm telling you now, there's going to be, with the car count that's here and it being in the middle of the day, there's going to be a lot of cautions. And unfortunately, I was right. But we can all attest to modified racing is some of the best racing there is.
Yeah.
So I hope people don't. It's unfortunate, I guess, that it was that platform on that stage and that's such a big weekend that the modifieds had a show like that. But at the same time, we all know that modifieds put on a great show.
Do you think just because of the fact that it was kind of hyped as like, okay, you're running on a Cup Series the same day, not even the weekend, the same day as the Cup Series All-Star race, you knew you're going to have NASCAR fans, Cup Series teams looking at you. Is that kind of hype sometimes almost detrimental to put in these guys' minds before the guy on the racetrack that, hey, you could be noticed by somebody or whatnot? Or was this just an anomaly, just the fact that it was coincidence it was the same weekend?
I don't know that you could say either way. I don't know that you could argue either point, good or bad. I think that you could say that there were some guys that maybe thought of it that way and maybe that caused the problem. But at the same time, this is an upper level touring series. It's not like you put your local dirt track mini stock series out there. I don't mean that as disrespect.
Yeah.
I just mean on levels. And say, here, go run North Wilkesboro with the Cup guys. A lot of those guys haven't been on that stage where the modified guys have. When we go to Loudon, we go to Richmond, and we go to those places that the Cup teams are there and Cup NASCAR, upper-level NASCAR teams are involved. I think my gut is leaning more towards it was just one of those races that was just one of the bad deals that couldn't get going. And yourself, cautions breed cautions. It was just not fun. I'll tell you that. I was we were unfortunately for Sap, he got crashed and we're getting his car fixed so we can get it loaded. And next thing we know, we hear a big pile up and we run over there. And that was the big one on the front stretch. It took the leaders out. And from there on, we actually stood over there and watched the race. So the only thing I got to hear was mainly caution laps and people fussing about cars getting tore up. So I didn't get to see a ton of the race, but like I said, I hope people judge the last, 10, 15 laps. That's what modified racing is.
For sure. And being on the MRN broadcast, too, I basically had a camping chair there at the care center, just waiting for drivers to emerge one by one and then try to look at all the mangled race. I mean, it looked like a race car graveyard back in the garage area, just with how many tore up race cars. So it was tough to see, but nonetheless, we had a great finish. So we were treated to something memorable there at the end. Burt, let's talk about you. Third in the Bowman Gray Stadium championship points for modifieds. Obviously, you're running the Smart Tour. You've got Slate running as well. It's been a busy start to your year. How would you assess where you guys are at as we near Memorial Day weekend?
I think a lot of what's going on, what we talked about North Wilkesboro, just a bad situation. I've kind of endured a lot of that. The Smart Series has not been very good to us this year. But Bowman Gray in general, I mean, we went over and we qualified on the pole and led 203 3/4 laps of a 204 lap race. The second race of the year qualified second and had an incident and had a DNF. The third race of the year, we sat on the pole and won the race. And then last weekend, sat on the pole, won the race. And then in the second race, had a problem and had a 17th place finish. So, man, it's been up and down. And that's one of the things I've always said about Bowman Gray is you're either hero or zero. There's not much in the middle. So we've been fast, had a great car. It's just, that doesn't always win. And seems like circumstances have kind of bit us a little bit this year. But you know yourself too that it goes in trends. So
Yeah.
Hopefully we're at the end of that trend and can get on a streak here where we can get some good finishes and some wins.
Absolutely. And I know you kickstarted the year. We talked about it running the Clash at Bowman Gray. You ran Martinsville as well in the Cup car as well. What do you learn from those two experiences, just getting that opportunity that maybe you could take with you when you go run the modified or throughout the rest of the year? Is there anything that you maybe figured out or learned racing those guys going, oh, okay, this makes sense? Or, oh man, maybe I could try this, when I go run the stadium next week? Or what kind of things did you learn running those two races?
I don't think anything really correlates back and forth. I think that my experience in a modified helped me in a modified, especially when you run Bowman Gray and then you run other tracks too, and you're in a modified, you have to adapt quickly. These cars are very agile with the horsepower to weight ratio. You have to get after it. And so I think a lot of that experience helped me adapt a little quicker to when I got in the Cup car. But as far as comparing the two back and forth, they're both a fruit, but it's an apple and an orange. I don't think there was anything that you could use back and forth, but I'm very fortunate I got to do that. I really feel like we've kind of been talking about it a little bit. I can't, if the Clash comes back to Bowman Gray next year, you can imagine I'm going to do whatever I can to try to make that show again. And then to be able to run a points paying race at Martinsville to get my name in the books and say that I ran a Cup race. That was special for me and my family since we've been involved with NASCAR for so long. So I'm fortunate I got to do it, but to compare the two is pretty tough.
Okay, you got to do it. You think maybe you do it again before the end of the year? I don't know. We go to Martinsville one more time in the fall. That's an opportunity, right?
So we've talked about it, but my schedule, I think my next weekend off is towards the end of September.
Oh, wow.
So we've got a long time to think about it. Up until then, it is being talked about, but we're not sure exactly where we're going right yet. And I've stated before that we focus on what's coming up the next weekend. We don't really look too far into the future because we try to focus on what we have to do to be successful at that moment in time. So I haven't put that many eggs in the basket just yet, but it is possible.
How are things going with Slate's program? Obviously, you're kind of competitors, but related, and you got to work on his stuff. And you guys talking back and forth at the racetrack. But what's that dynamic like when you guys go racing together? And has it been fun?
Yeah, it's been a blast. I mean, any father that has a child that comes up in the same sport that he's involved in is always what you dream of, I guess you could say. But watching Slate learn and watching Slate adapt and watching Slate try to figure out the dynamic, especially at Bowman Gray Stadium, has been a challenge. But when we're out there together, I don't really think about, I'm not, as I'm racing, I'm not really thinking about Slate. Caution comes out, I might say, hey, how's Slate doing? But I'm not really focused on what Slate's doing. And I think that me and my brother both probably got that from our dad with the mentality of, I'll help Slate, but I'm not doing it for him.
Sure.
He's got an exam today, and he gets out at 11:30, and he's coming straight down to the shop to get his car finished up. So, and when he gets here, I'll give him a hand and get him pointed in the right direction. But I want Slate to learn the right way, the way we did. Learn how to get in there and bust a knuckle and mash a finger every now and then. That's how you learn how to work on these cars. And that with the God-given talent I think he has to drive a race car, I think he could be successful one day. But yourself, it's just about catching that break and being in the right place at the right time. And we're just trying to do everything we can to put him in the position to help himself to try to do something. But it's funny because he tells his teachers he's not going to college. He says he's going to drive a race car for a living. So I said, that's fine, but you need to do it on somebody else's dime.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you got to put all those pieces together first, but we'll make it happen. Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, he's a star on the rise, though. I tell you, I met him for the first time at Bowman Gray earlier back in February, and one buttoned-up young man. So you got yourself not only a good son, but a talented racer, too. So he's going to be fun to watch.
We work hard to try to do best, but especially the generation these days, man, it's tough. And the world we live in is tough. And we're proud of him, but obviously we're a little bit biased. But I'm looking forward to him getting that first win at Bowman Gray. That'll be a special night for our family for sure.
For sure. Well, it could be a special night coming up this weekend as you look for your 100th modified win. Give us a little preview. What's the outlook? What's the format going into this weekend?
So this weekend actually is double points. And, the hit that we've taken the last several weeks. Here's the thing about double points. If you're leading the points, you don't like it.
Yeah.
If you're behind in the points, you're ready for it because you're already behind. So you can only move forward. You got a better chance of leapfrogging at that point. But this weekend we have twin 25. We'll qualify, start straight up in the first one. The winner draws 8, 10, 12, 14, or 16, and that's how many they invert for the second race. It's double points, twin 25. So, can you just imagine if I could get my 100th modified win in that first race?
Oh, yeah.
And then get his very first win of his career in that second race. Boy, we give y'all something to talk about for sure then, will we?
No kidding. Well, you'd be getting a phone call coming. You guys are coming back on the show. So
yeah.
Well, yeah, absolutely. Well, best of luck, Burt. Appreciate it. Congratulations on 100 total wins, and can't wait to watch you guys this weekend at the stadium. And like you said, shaping up could be a huge weekend for the Myers family.
I hope so, buddy. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Burt Myers, 100 total wins at Bowman Gray, going for number 100 in the modified this weekend. Appreciate him joining us on the show. When we come back, we'll recap some things in the short track world. And of course, the calendar is huge when it comes to short track racing here at the end of May. That's all next here on NASCAR Coast to Coast on the Motor Racing Network.
3, 2, 1, start your engine.
The NASCAR channel is streaming now, exclusively on Tubi. Go deeper into NASCAR with 24/7 news, documentaries, and explore the vault of timeless NASCAR stories and unforgettable races. From crushing defeats to the thrill of victory. The NASCAR channel, always on, always free. Only on Tubi.
Final lap at the North Wilkesboro Speedway. Craig Lutz heads to turn 1.
Flexing some muscle here at the end, pulling away from Baldwin off turn number 2. Down the back straightaway for the final time. Craig Lutz will look for the checker.
He leads by 2 car lengths. Now he leads by 3 car lengths. Puts the hammer down out of turn number 4. Checkered flag is in the air, and it's Craig Lutz winning at North Wilkesboro.
That's how it sounded on the Motor Racing Network as Craig Lutz finally broke the winless streak and gets his 5th career NASCAR with a modified tour win in a thriller over Luke Baldwin at North Wilkesboro Speedway. That kind of begins our recap of the weekend. And boy, we heard it from Burt Myers. Not exactly what modified racing looks like. If you were tuning in or listening in to MRN's coverage, we ran more caution laps than green flag laps. We had the pace car technically should have won the race with how many times we were behind the safety car. But nonetheless, we were treated those last couple restarts to some heck of racing between Luke and Craig Lutz, both racing each other clean but hard, running each other up the racetrack. And again, congratulations to Craig. Got to take that famous elevator ride up to the victory lane at North Wilkesboro Speedway. Coming up next for the tour is the J&R Precast 150 coming up Saturday, May 31st, so at the end of the month at Seekonk Speedway as we get back into the New England area of the country. But boy, Wilkesboro certainly put on a good race. Unfortunately, we never really got it going just with all those cautions. We had a lot of hot tempers. It was good to see Tyler Ripkema get out of the race car okay. He was frustrated with us on MRN, but took a huge hit head on in the turn 1 wall. So we had a lot of Mingle race cars, and a lot of those tour guys are going to be thankful that we have that weekend in between the tour races before they go to Seekonk Speedway. Cars Tour was also at North Wilkesboro and kind of kicked off the weekend of All-Star Weekend out at Wilkes County with Thursday and Friday shows. Of course, the Thursday program being the Pro Late models with Caden Honeycutt getting the win. Of course, the driver now doing full-time racing with Nice Motorsports in the Craftsman Truck Series picked up that win on Thursday night. And then on Friday night, it was Landon Lewis, who once again had Rodney Childers in his back pocket as, I guess you want to say, a second crew chief / consultant. I asked him what his official role is, but since Rodney now has got a little extra free time on his hand, is teamed up with KHI and Landon Lewis's program. But Landon dominates, led nearly every single lap Friday night in the Window World 100. Is now within striking distance of Connor Hall in the points championship. And I mentioned Rodney Childers being there as well. Got to ride the elevator once again. Tristan McKee, who's won at Wilkesboro, finished second in that one. And then Minnie Tyrell, who's in the points championship hunt, finished in the top 3. Great race. Started off, struggled a little bit. We had some, both races actually, the pro late model and the late model stock had some pretty big pileups early on, but then things kind of strung out and ended up being great racing. And of course, the late model stocks being on FS1, really cool opportunity for them. Saw they had over 300,000 people at one point tuned into that race. So really good stuff for the Cars Tour. Again, next up for them, 2 weeks time, end of May 31st on Saturday will be the Langley Speedway show, which again, side of the Hampton Heat coming up later on this year. So a good tune-up for the Cars Tour to be there on the 31st. ARCA East was out at Flat Rock Speedway. The Dutch boy 150. And boy, Max Reeves picks him up and puts him down. If it wasn't for missing Rockingham, he would be walking away with the points lead, but he missed that race, but he got his 3rd win of the season at Flat Rock, joining Will Rogers as the only 2 drivers to win their first, or 2 out of their three out of their first 4 ARCA East Series races in their season debut. So really cool stuff for Max Reeves. Again, General Tire 150 at Charlotte is next for the big ARCA Menard Series drivers. For the East drivers, it's the General Tire 150 at Dover coming up in June. So it's going to be excellent racing for them when they go to the Monster Mile. A very difficult racetrack. We'll see who can tame that coming up next month. Some other winners over the weekend. Just wanted to mention Marc-Antoine Cameron, the defending NASCAR Canada champion, picked up right where he left off last year, picked up his first win of the season in the season opener at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. It was a heck of a battle. Last lap pass over Gary Clutt. Those two just went after it the last couple of laps, but then it came down to the final lap for the defending champ to get the win. And then we want to give a shout out to Ryan Vargas, our buddy here, visitor on Coast to Coast, about a month and a half ago now, picked up a 12th place finish in his series debut. So congratulations to Ryan. Before we get to kind of a look ahead, just our little quick all-star reaction. I thought the NASCAR Cup Series arguably was one of the best, if not the best, all-star race in recent memory. When you look at the holistic program between qualifying on Friday, you had the heat races on Saturday, which were electric, minus Christopher Bell spanking the field in the second one. The first one was great. You had the story in qualifying about Michael McDowell, of course, allowing the open guys to qualify and be open for the pit crew challenge just added another flavor to it. Thought that was exciting with Michael McDowell's crew getting that win, kind of an underdog story. And then, of course, you had Sunday night and the open. We had a lot of contact in that race. Of course, Noah Gragson getting the fan vote, but really good racing in that. And then it was just capped off with a thrilling all-star race. 250 laps. I think the extra 50 laps were key to get that race really going and allowing the kind of the comers and goers to happen. And we saw 4-wide racing. We had contact through the field. And when it was all said and done, we had 2 of the best right now in the Cup Series, Joey Logano and Christopher Bell, duke it out for what seemed like 50, 60 laps of just side-by-side racing. Came down to a tire strategy race. Joey Logano opted for no tires. Christopher Bell took 2. And at the end, it was 2 tires that won the race, but also just really heads-up driving for Joey, keeping Christopher as far back as he could. So really good race. Congratulations, Christopher Bell. Of course, the Truck Series put on a great show as well at North Wilkesboro Speedway. So all in all, a really, really good race at Wilkesboro. And the future of that racetrack, I mean, all roads are pointing that this should be a points race for the Cup Series. I mean, obviously it is for the trucks, but for the Cup Series, I think it's a no-brainer that it's proved its worth. The question is, where does it fall and what does it do to the rest of the Cup Series schedule looking forward? Of course, only time will tell in that front. Congratulations are in order to as well. Breaking news last night, the NASCAR Hall of Fame 2026 class was announced. Kurt Busch, of course, the 2004 Series champ and former Daytona 500 winner, a first ballot Hall of Famer. Harry Gant, Handsome Harry, was voted in as well in 2026, the 18-time Cup Series winner. And then, of course, Ray Hendrick, Mr. Modified, kind of applies to this show, was named to NASCAR Modified Top 10 Drivers of All Time. Of course, he is over 40 years, has some 700 victories in modified and sportsman racing. Well-deserved honor for Ray Hendrick. And then, of course, the Landmark Award going to, for this year, for 2026, going to Humpy Wheeler, the former track president of Charlotte Motor Speedway for some 30 years, gets the Landmark Award. So congratulations to all of those. They'll be, of course, inducted coming up in January. On the calendar, before we let you go here on Coast to Coast, we're just down the road. Charlotte Motor Speedway, ARCA Menard Series in action, the General Tire 150 at Charlotte Motor Speedway. And again, this one's going to be a fun one with the mile and a half programs with ARCA usually proving to be some of the best racing on the schedule. And it's a star-studded field. Not only do you have Brendan Butterbean Queen looking for his third win of the season as he took over the points championship after his win at Kansas, he's going to have to contend with William Sawalich back with Joe Gibbs Racing, still looking for that elusive mile and a half win in ARCA. Could it become this weekend? We'll see. That same car won this race last year with Tanner Gray behind the wheel. We'll see if William can get it done. Some notables in this one, Cletus McFarland back, of course, going to make his mile and a half debut after a really solid finish at Talladega, got his first top 10. And then Grant Enfinger, a name we're familiar with on the Craftsman Truck Series side, he's going to be doing double duty, subbing for Jason Kitzmiller. Jason Kitzmiller is going to practice the car and then get out of Dodge because his daughter's graduating high school in Virginia. So then Grant Enfinger is going to climb aboard that car and do double duty. Grant's run well at Charlotte in the past in the ARCA car as well. Austin Green, Laney Bice also in the entry list, Patrick Starapoli, and Spencer Gallagher, just to name a few. So really good lineup for the ARCA Menard Series race. General Tire 150, Friday, 6 p.m. Eastern Time. And the West Series will be a late start, 10 p.m. on Saturday for the Colorado 150. First time in 4 years that the ARCA West Series has visited Colorado National Speedway, and it's going to be fun to watch with some heavy hitters in this field as well. Trevor Huddleston, Tanner Reif, both of those drivers off of wins in the early part of the year are neck and neck in the championship. So they're going to be the favorites going into that one. Eric Johnson Jr. off of a runner-up finish is also on the entry list as well. And this race will be exciting. Again, stay up late, 10 p.m. Saturday night for the ARCA West Championship. It's a big weekend with Memorial Day weekend coming up as well. I mentioned Coke 600, and you got all the pomp and circumstance around Charlotte Motor Speedway. Of course, in Indianapolis, the Hoosier 100, the famous Silver Crown race, is going to kick off Indy 500 weekend with the Little 500 Sprint Car Tour. Also doing the Little 500, actually at Anderson Speedway for the pavement sprint cars. Friday, you've got Stafford Speedway with the Double Down Showdown. Smart Modified Tour, we heard from Burt Myers. They're in action at Franklin County. And then Riverhead has the Modified Show on Saturday, as well as Berlin's weekly show, South Boston with the NASCAR Advanced Auto Parts Weekly Series, and then Super Modifieds at Oswego Speedway. So a lot going on to fill up your short track racing calendar coming up this weekend. We hope you have a safe Memorial Day weekend as well, celebrating with family and friends, and of course, tuning into all the action from wherever you may be in the world of short track racing. Don't forget, NASCAR Racing Network has your call of the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series at Charlotte Motor Speedway, the North Carolina Education Lottery 200 on Friday night at 8 p.m. on the NASCAR Racing Network. So we'll see who can tame Charlotte Motor Speedway to kick off NASCAR Coca-Cola 600 weekend. Our special thanks to Burt Myers for joining us this weekend. Best of luck to him on potentially modified win number 100 at Bowman Gray Stadium. For our producer, Pat Jaggers, my name is Chris Wilner. Let's go Pacers. Again, kicking off the Eastern Conference Finals this weekend. We'll see you next week here on NASCAR Coast to Coast.